Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Capes and Lunatics. I am Phil, and joining me today is returning guest, Mr. John Jackson Miller. How are you, sir?
Hey, how you doing?
And we're going to flip the script because before we were talking about your new works. First it was Batman Resurrection, then it was Batman Revolution. Now we're going to flip it. We're going to talk some Marvel. We're going to travel back in time to, was that 2003 and 2004 for your Iron Man run.
Iron Man.
Oh,
yep, right there.
I was going to say, did you sign it for yourself before you?
Yeah. Well, it came back so poor. I'm like, yeah. No, actually, the truth is, I had set up a one of those CGC signature series signings, and I said, well, let me just throw one of those in there because I don't have one. So, and then that is my favorite cover of that series. This is actually the only cover that Adi Granov did that it was based on one of my suggestions. So that was pretty cool.
Oh, holding the flag, yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of good covers during your run.
I think it's probably most known for the covers. I mean, because we have the 3-point stance there again. Adi Granov, his first work is during this series. His first cover work is during this series, and again, he's very much a part of the story of this year.
I feel like I mean, there's a few things the MCU picked up from this run, and now I think about the 3-point stance might be another thing.
Well, it was literally there are a lot of things that are consequences here, and as you see here, he starts doing the covers with the third one, and he does the next I think it looks like it's 8. There are 9 that he does total out of the 13 issues that I did, and the idea was. Obviously the year has its theme, which is Tony Stark becomes Secretary of Defense, or tries to become Secretary of Defense, at least for half of it. But the thing that I think is the biggest legacy of the year is there are a number of them, but one of them is that it was this cover that Jon Favreau had posted on his MySpace page as his background, and that's how Adi got in touch with him and said, "Hey, that's my cover," and John hired him to do artwork, or not artwork, but armor design for the movie. And we're getting way ahead of ourselves here, but that is I think. Right off the top, if people are recognizing, this material, that's part of it.
So, I mean, is it did Jon Favreau read your run? Because I mean,
yeah, they sent it to him. We know they sent it to him. Maybe I should go back and do the whole story of the year, because the film is in the story of the year, I think. I had been, working for, Comics Buyer's Guide, Comics Retailer, Scry Magazine, running all these magazines and books at Krause Publications. And I had been intending to try to, break into professional comics all during that time. It was part of the, actual, policy of the company. They wanted us involved in whatever fields we were in. So we would have people that were active in coins and trading cards and the other fields. And Don and Maggie Thompson had done some done some work here and there for Marvel. And the opportunity came to me to pitch a series to Marvel. This is at the last week of 2002, so I'm not even really running the magazines at that point. I'm on to working on the books, and this was going to be part of what they called Epic, which was a relaunch of the notion of Epic anyway. but instead of being creator-owned titles that Marvel was going to be publishing, it was sort of a way to do Marvel Knights style studios of external studios doing comics for Marvel, taking some of the production pressure off of Marvel, which had been in bankruptcy not too long before this. And also there would be sort of a new talent thing going with this. And the very first thing they did is they went out to people who were already active in comics, and just about everybody with a website or every reviewer or anything that had written anything about comics, they reached out to, and apparently I was the first person to actually get a proposal in that they liked, because I was expected they would get multiple different things out when my book came out, and it turned out that I was the first one that they announced, and what I proposed, I had back in the day I had a master's degree in Soviet studies. The reason I didn't have a doctorate was that the Soviet Union collapsed under my dissertation. Everything that I was studying vanished in 1991, and so I just took the master's and went. But I looked at, well, if I'm going to propose something, and they said, okay, these books will sort of be adjunct to the series that are out there. I figured, well, I would be better off proposing something that they don't already have a series about. So the first thing I did was I proposed Crimson Dynamo, which the idea was to be the Russian Iron Man that had been created for the 60s. Let's update him for the 2000s, for the end of the Cold War, and tell a fun kind of a story that really is sort of my homage to the movie War Games, where this teenager in Russia gets a hold of the helmet for a Crimson Dynamo armor suit and ends up sending it on a rampage across the country, and hilarity ensues. And that was one of two things that I proposed. I proposed that. I also proposed a Doctor Strange series. I was fond of that proposal, but I was like, well, here we there was no Doctor Strange book at the time, but I figured the stronger of the two was Crimson Dynamo. They agreed. I went with my friend Mark Patton, who had previously been the publisher at TV Comics, doing comics for the Munsters and various other TV characters. He helped organize and package the book, because I didn't have time to do anything other than write it. And he found Steve Ellis, artist who had lived in Russia for a while, which was cool. Later, he found Joe Caroni to replace him. Joe's first work in professional comics would end up being in Crimson Dynamo, and the series, it was. I don't know if it was really made clear to me from the start that it was just going to be a limited series. I think these things are always decided on the fly. Midway through, I was contacted saying, we'd like to get you on another title at Marvel, one of the main titles. And if you've got a proposal that will work for us, and the two books that they were looking for something for that I could pitch on, because I'd been asking whether there was something I could pitch for. They said, well, you could either pitch for Iron Man or for Hawkeye, and Hawkeye had not been rebooted yet, so I decided, well, I've already got Crimson Dynamo. I'm in the Iron Man world. Let me go ahead and propose a series for Iron Man. And I decided I would swing for the fences. I would do a Tom Clancy style, real life thing that sort of took Iron Man back to the 60s in a sense. When he was, he's supposed to be Howard Hughes. He was supposed to be the military, contractor. Well, I figured, okay, we're after 9/11. Let's see if we can get him involved with the Defense Department again on a different level. But of course, being Tony Stark, he's going to want to take it over. And so I proposed that, and subsequent to that, I proposed for Hawkeye. Probably the worst proposal I've ever sent on any book ever. I don't think I actually intended to throw the pitch because I definitely wanted to do Iron Man, but at least at the time I just could not take Hawkeye seriously. I think I had him drafted by Major League Baseball or something like that, and it was just, well, I mean, he's got a good eye, he's got great upper body strength, but it was a comedy, the same way that say Hercules back when Bob Layton did it was a comedy. It was making fun of the whole thing of guy running around with bow and arrow. Since then I've written an archer in Batman Revolution, which just came out, which is one of those twisted characters I think I've ever written. So yeah, I would have probably would have figured out a way to make it work had I done it seriously, but instead I was like, let me do this, and we went through several gyrations of getting the concept to fit in the first issue of Iron Man, and I took advantage of the fact that Mike Grell in his period on the book had revealed that Tony Stark was Iron Man. I am Iron Man. And I'm like, oh, well, now the Defense Department can claim all his patents. They can seize them all because, I think the notion had always been that he patented everything he did for Iron Man, but it was all under seal for national security reasons. I looked at the law, which said, at least in my reading of it, that if you ever reveal, publicly anything that is, a national security, closed patent that no one can see, if you ever reveal it publicly, you lose the patent, and and the act of Tony Stark putting on the armor, he's already in jeopardy having done it. But having admitted that he's Iron Man, well, now he's lost it. And I figured that would be shenanigans that would be, come up with by a character called Sonny Birch. And that's a character that really he's the other legacy from this year. And he's a Southerner who like me, who is he's in acquisitions for the Defense Department, and he uses this loophole to he by the time the book starts, he has already by the time the first issue appears, he has already seized control of the patents, and he's manufacturing for the military gear based on Tony Stark's patents. And of course, Tony Stark's stuff is beyond anybody's ability to handle properly. And so one of the running things is that people who are using his technology are really getting hurt. And this is what causes him to say, okay, yeah, if you want me back involved, I need to be in charge. And it just so happened that Marvel at the time had an opening at Secretary of Defense because the character had been, even though we had at Marvel, they told me, George W. Bush is the president. Everybody else is who they are in the administration, with the exception of the defense secretary, who at the time was a guy named Del Rusk, which is an anagram for Red Skull. And I'm like, well, if you can have Red Skull as defense secretary, I can have Tony Stark. And so the entire first arc is all about, whether or not he should be allowed to have this job, because he's done a lot of crazy things.
Corruption in government. Where do you come up with these crazy ideas, Mr. Miller?
It was fun. It was fun. I will say that I was kind of making it up as I went along to a degree larger than I would have liked. We that first storyline, The Best Defense, was 6 issues. I think I was writing it with the presumption that I'm setting him up for more stories. They came back with 3 more arcs or 3 more stories. Of course, then I ended up having to, with the third story, I had to wrap it up quick because of what was going on. But this is at a period where it was just going so fast. I still am, at the day job moonlighting. I'm wrapping up Crimson Dynamo. I'm getting Iron Man running. I'm proposing, arcs for these later stories. And they also decide in there they want to take Iron Man bi-weekly for the summer of 2004 or the spring of 2004. And so we ended up putting out 7 issues in 3 months. And that was very, very hard.
I can imagine. Yeah. Just, I don't know how they do that. I mean, they do that with Spider-Man now. I don't know how someone, writes and draws 2 issues a month.
Yeah. I was just writing, but I was also, moonlighting. I had a new daughter at that point too, in that whole stretch. So a whole lot was going on. But
I mean, even the writer, it's like you have to have this stuff done so that the art team can start working on it. And
and some of the special challenges were that my artist was Jorge Lucas, who was in Argentina. So we never met at that time, and we never really spoke much. Everything had to be translated for him by somebody down there. I was having to send, constantly sending, visuals. I was constantly sending, I think the second issue, Tony Stark is in a Motel 6. Well, what does a Motel 6 look like? So there's that. All these location elements in Washington, D.C. I had pledged that everything that appeared in the series of a military nature, every vehicle, would be real or based on something real. So, I had gone to a friend of mine, Russ Maharis, who was in public relations with the Air Force, got information on how the seating would be arranged in a C-5 Galaxy, for troops. It actually hangs from the ceiling. It's kind of cool. And all of this stuff where I wanted it to actually, read right and ring correctly, for somebody who was actually in service. I had never been, but my dad was a Marine. My grandfather was in the Navy in World War II. I wanted to try to do it right. Had a when I sent Tony to not Vietnam, but when I sent Tony to Iraq, in an updating of the whole Vietnam thing, I sent Tony to Iraq in the second storyline. I had my friend Mike Singleton, who was I think he was a captain or a major over there at the time. I got his advice for what a fire team would say when they were under fire, and then I named a general after him. So he's and that was kind of fun. But yeah, I was trying to do everything right, and so I was constantly sending Jorge all of these notes, and we got down to a point where so in that 6th issue, which I think is really kind of my favorite of the whole series, which is where Tony Stark is trying to prevent a sort of an airline disaster in Washington D.C. and there's rockets going up and there's fighter planes around, and I wanted to crash a C5 Galaxy in the reflecting pool in front of the Capitol building. And I looked at the maps and I had said, there really is only one direction you can come into this town with, a plane and have it not hit anything. So I was sending, I was marking up, Rand McNally road maps.
Oh,
and say, okay, when the fighter plane is going down Independence Avenue or whichever one it is, Constitution Avenue, and this is the direction it's going to go. I want to be able to see the Air and Space Museum on this side because people will recognize that. And then when we crash, we're going to go in here. And I realized, okay, yeah, it's 2003 when I'm writing this. I wrote at the bottom of the emails, all you guys at the National Security Agency who are reading this, sending it overseas. It's a comic book. I'll send you a copy. And so there it was. But no, I did work really hard on that. I later had a friend, a fellow author, who her day job was flying members of Congress to the Middle East, for the military, and she went through that entire arc, and she gave it a thumbs up, and I was like, okay, that's great. That's it was worth the time we put into it. I think, again, it's one of those things where, like the effort that we put into Crimson Dynamo to make it realistic to Russia at the time, we probably didn't have to do all of that. But I think that people valued the effort that we put in.
I mean, as someone who's reading it at the time as it's coming out, I can tell you, I mean, you didn't need the details, but I appreciated it, and I could tell the labor of love, all the love you're putting into it. So.
Well, my feeling was we're going to get, I'm probably going to get just this one chance to do this. I didn't know how long this ride would be. Epic was already canceled as a line, before I was done working. They weren't going to print the 6th issue of Dynamo. They wanted me to wrap it up at 5. And I'm like, okay, no, I'm writing the script for 5 right now. That is not happening.
No.
Or actually, I might have already even written this. I think I'd already written the script. I was just like, you're not going to get it to fit. And so I begged and pleaded. And Tom Brevoort, who had taken over that title, he was also the editor on Iron Man at the time, kindly let us, do that last issue. And we, then I did a panel in Iron Man, kind of tying things up after the end of it.
Oh yeah, yes. I mean, that again, I love the whole, like you said, like a big part of this story is Tony Stark has gone public. He is Iron Man. It's only like in like a year or two after Mike Grell had done that. But I'm like, what you said, we're taking back to the 60s kind of. I'm like, yeah, it would have been funny, I think, though, too, if he still had the secret identity and all these senators would be like, where's your stupid bodyguard? He just has to like run around and like,
well, that's another thing that we worked on. I mean, my master's was a poli-sci degree, and so I wanted to do the congressional part of it right as well. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to actually, show, what would happen in the confirmation hearings and in what order and everything else. And in particular, I wanted to have, my main creation for the series was a guy named Stu Conrad, who is, basically he's the president's chief of staff in the book. And he is given this job of making Tony Stark work as a first as a potential nominee, and then as an actual secretary, and I wanted him to be freaking out every single issue because this guy is just not controllable, and the world he lives in is just another whole thing. But that character, that dynamic, that relationship, that was a lot of fun to put in.
Oh yeah, just the whole confirmation hearings. It's like, oh, what are they going to bring up? Are they going to bring up his
Yep.
love life, or and it's just they go a completely different route.
And I think my mother is one of the senators.
Oh.
We had her drawn in. Everybody else was real. I mean, Hillary's in there as a senator. All the various people are, and they had said it's, we're going to do the actual, folks. And, I think it was a little harder, maybe on Philip Tan when he came into the second series, the second storyline. Because I don't know that I was able to get him as much, visual reference, because by that time, as I said, we're bi-weekly, and I'm just, burning rubber to try to get through this, and we're also setting up for, what would end up being, some audibles that Marvel called. One of the ones that was sort of a curveball is so Adi had started drawing the covers, and he'd been very popular. They wanted to get Adi an interior of an issue to draw, and so I was asked to write a story that was very light on anything that would be difficult to digitally paint, and as he does. And so I came up with an issue, which I think is called Heavy Metal Homicide, which ends up being issue 83. The whole idea was it's basically, Iron Man fighting Titanium Man on a spaceship, rocketing after a comet. And so no backgrounds, two guys with armor beating each other up. And it was going to be something he could probably draw in a month, and it would be a good trial kind of a thing. And for one reason or another, I think they wanted to save him for Warren Ellis, because and I think that's where he ends up going. Doing the that first arc over there on the new Iron Man series that follows ours. And so it ends up being drawn by Jorge Lucas as our regular artist, and this ends up being kind of a weird issue there, because again it's light on everything in the background and everything. I didn't go to translate things or make things as simple as possible in my script as I should have. So there's a weird moment in that issue where, I said that Iron Man puts a defensive arm between himself and some falling debris. And in the page, he's suddenly holding a gun. And I realized it was translated as a defensive armament. And again, I think if I had known that he was, that I was sending the scripts to, another country, it would have been different. But I didn't really know anything at that point.
Really?
And so I was like, well, because I was just going so fast, and I should have been that detailed anyway. And this was all of this was a learning experience for me. This was 19 issues that I did at Marvel. All of them are before I go to work for Star Wars. And so I'm learning as I go, and I really appreciate that Trom Brevoort was willing to put up with me as I was figuring out my way. And so what happens is, so we've got that. There was another kind of audible that was called in there towards what would have been that summer. They were looking at doing one of those big crossover events. I think there was talk about doing Atlantis Attacks 2, which they had kind of done in the annuals before. And I'm like, okay, well, that's great. I can do a Navy story. and I could sort of do a reverse Dunkirk kind of a thing, trying to rescue all the ships from sea, and then and that's Tony Stark's job, and that idea doesn't go anywhere because a couple of things happen. I get contacted, in I think it was February of 2004. Tom called me and said, "Hey, couple of things going on. Sales are not what they should be, and I knew that. But also we're looking towards the movie, and this is still 4 years before the movie comes out, but they're still that their whole idea is they need to get this series to be a much bigger deal before the movie. I think I was told that Warren was either in the wings or just about to be in the wings. Definitely they're going to give it to somebody bigger, and so I was asked to wrap it up with a story that would connect. And I don't know whether I was told about what it was connecting to yet or not, because that was the other thing that was happening was they were giving Avengers to Bendis. And he was doing Disassembled. He was doing Avengers Disassembled. And so they told me your last 2 issues will be a Disassembled prologue. And I'm like, that's fine. I'll do an Avengers story. This gives me a chance to do the Avengers. And that's what I did. And ironically, the 2 issues that are in that Avengers Disassembled prologue part of this are the only issues Marvel has ever reprinted. So it's back behind me here in the hardcover. It is if from that entire 19 issues I did, Crimson Dynamo and Iron Man, still all that's out. And eventually I assume they will hit it with the Epic collections, because I think they're finally just about done with the original series, or not, the one that lasted all those years. And also, Busiek and Grell's comics, they've already got their Epic collection. So there's like 3 Epics, I think, that are left that they need to get out. And I'm hoping it'll happen. It'd be great.
I mean, it's not a reprint, but they are on Marvel Unlimited.
Oh, they're all on Marvel Unlimited. That is true.
So they are out there. So.
But Tom was complimentary. Said it would be good if I could show I could do something besides Iron Man and Iron Man related things. And while I did do I think I sent in a proposal to X-Men Unlimited, which was like the one the rotating series, the anthology. That series was canceled before anything could happen with that as well. And I'm like, well, I will look for what he said. I'll see what else is out there. And it was that summer of 2004 that I got basically 2 publishers attention. One was Bongo on The Simpsons. I did a few Simpsons issues, and then obviously Star Wars. And I would never do anything since in 20 years. New material for Marvel, but it Marvel is probably the major publisher of all the things I've got on my shelves, comics wise, because they have reprinted all of the Star Wars stuff again and again and again. Even reprinted my Conan story I did for Dark Horse as well. But yeah, I mean, I went away from superheroes for 20 years and would not get back to it until the Batman, the Tim Burton novels.
So, as someone who's not a writer, I wanted to ask your thoughts on I've heard that writing comics is like its own unique animal. It's not like writing any novel. It's not like even writing TV or movies or anything. It's
Yeah.
very unique.
It is. I will say that, one of the things that I like about writing the novels is that, so I had all of these, technical, details. Well, we didn't have time to put them in the comics. We weren't going to put them into the comics. That was part of why I think, my first draft of the first issue had to go through multiple revisions because I was just putting too much stuff in.
Oh,
And, I can do that with a novel. Although even then, I'm reluctant to, we joked that I was, being the Tom Clancy of comics when I was doing Iron Man. I try not to, stop everything for a page and a half to talk about how this particular, aileron works on a plane or something like that, or how the landing gear functions. But if it makes the main character look more clever for saying something or knowing something, I'm able to drop those hints in there every so often. You can kind of do that in a novel setting. There's fewer chances that things will not be translated to the page. I don't even mean language translated, but just translated to the page the way you imagine. But at the same time, the artists very frequently can make things better than you could imagine, more often than not. And they add something to it. Jorge's work on the series, I think he just did a wonderful job on it. Tony Stark, looks like, this is he looks like we're back in he's Clark Gable a lot of the time. I mean, he looks like we're doing Tales of Suspense issue 101. I mean, we're really doing this thing seriously and real. The quiet moments, doing the sort of West Wing walk through hallways kind of a thing work just as well as the action scenes. He does big sprawling action scenes where you'll have I think we actually have is it 3 or 4 double page spreads over the course of the series. The shot where let's see if we can get this. This is a wordless shot here where Iron Man's on the steps of the Capitol, and the military plane is crashing in DC, and it's being attacked by the defense rockets. Mm-hmm. That was astounding. The look of that, and I just am really thankful the time he put in on it, and I'm glad that we got to meet because again, to get sort of the legacy of these things, this year on the book was what they initially provided Favreau in doing the series, or rather in doing his research, and I know that must be the case because again, he had the comics for to see Adi's work. And also he pulled he pulled the character of Christine Everhart, the reporter from our comics, and they must have continued kicking around those issues because likewise somebody pulled Sonny Birch for Ant-Man and the Wasp. And he wasn't in a governmental capacity then. He was a lot younger. He looked like Walton Goggins, and not like the guy he did in the comics. But they had him there as somebody trying to steal technology, except from Hank Pym, and in a major role. And they brought me and my wife out to Hollywood for the premiere. And they also brought Jorge Lucas up from Argentina, where I think he had been out of comics for something like 15 years by that point.
Oh wow!
Because he'd been teaching art, and once we got somebody to help us get through the language barrier, he became excited about what we were there for and what it was. Because I don't know that it was necessarily clear because he had never worked for Ant-Man. And neither had I, but we were there. That was a fun experience. That Sonny Birch character has since appeared in What If. So is Christine Everhart. That's just very cool. And back here on one of my shelves, I've got the Crimson Dynamo that we designed. Me and Steve Ellis. He drew it, but it was my technical specs. Terms of what I wanted to see in it. Between the two of us, it's a really cool design, and they used that for a toy for the Black Widow movie, where if you get the Black Widow action figures, you get all 6 parts of the giant Crimson Dynamo figure. So again, it's surprising the legacy that this stuff has kind of had.
Oh yeah, I mean, again, it's filtered a bunch of stuff into the MCU, and I think even like in the comics, I mean, it sets kind of like Tony Stark up for once we get the Civil War, and he knows people in Washington now, and yeah,
I mean, the immediate consequence, because they went to, I think, a different writer for 4 issues. Either Robin Laws was the person before me or after me. I think it was after me. The 4 issues that did the complete lead up to Warren Ellis's series. I've lost my train of thought. What did I just say? What was I just talking about?
The writer after you, because I had mentioned Civil War, and then
Civil War, yeah. Okay, so well, what happens is the writer, it goes to Bendis. Bendis erases my year on the series in 1 page of the Avengers. Stu Conrad is fired in 1 panel, or not. We don't see him at 1 line. That was it. And so you're out of here. The whole Secretary of Defense thing is gone. And that's okay. That's how it happens in comics. People, use what they need and change what they need to change to make their stories work. But yeah, I do believe that we had kind of done a proof of concept for some of those scenes that you see. Tony is in the second movie in front of Congress. You've got this notion that this character can appear outside of the armor. That was the most daring thing I think we did. Is he's not in the suit for half of the series. He's not in the armor. I mean, this is a series about Tony Stark fixing a problem that Iron Man created instead of the other way around. And I'm happy with it and how it turned out. They did a section in it. Andy Mangels did a book called, I think, Inside the Armor or Behind the Armor or something like that, talking about just how strange and weird and neat the year was. And Tom Brevoort is in there saying, that this really was an attempt to do something unique and unusual with the character, and that he liked it for that.
No, I mean, it's a good story, because I know sometimes if I get a story like this, I'm like, man, I wish they would have been in Armor War. I enjoy, like I told you, I enjoyed this whole run. I'm just like, okay, it makes sense. It's of course. And again, it's like, if they're gonna take stuff off of this for the movie, I mean, it's a good foundation for the movie, because if you have Robert Downey Jr., he's not gonna have his head covered the entire time.
It's just a strangely small corner of the whole history to be pulling so much stuff from. I'm happy for it. It's very cool.
Right place, right time, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I will say it would be terrific if we could get it in print.
Yes.
And I can't imagine that it would take forever. But when they started doing these collections, they had 40 years to go through and to get to us. And so my hope would be sometime between now and the end of the decade that people will be able to get this story.
Again, Robert Downey Jr. is making his return, so maybe we'll start reprinting more Iron Man stuff.
Well, we'll see. I never wrote Dr. Doom.
Oh, not yet. You like those armored guys? No, I remember seeing the Iron Man 2 trailer, and I was like, oh, are we doing the Secretary of State thing? Oh.
Well, and then we saw the Iron Man 3 trailer or whatever it was, and we've got people bailing out of an airplane. And they're like, well, I've got that too in one of our sequences. So again, it's everything is building on something. I was building on other things. I will say one of the fun things I was able to do, I had deep pulls from characters that I think Arnie, the PR guy, comes back. The various other people that had been in the series in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, they reappear, and that was fun to do. And we actually were able to close it off really nicely. I think not every story, when things are ending, do you get to do everything right? But we did a whole scene for the last story in the D-Day museum. That's where it closes. And again, I sent some links to Jorge, and it's just a really great looking sequence there. So I was happy with how it worked out ultimately. At the time, it was like I was just exhausted by the whole thing.
Is that just the downside of comics? Is it could be a week, could be a year or two. Not now anymore. It's just I don't think you get more than a year or two.
Well, again,
time is always fine.
If I had been told, hey, you're going to have this book for multiple arcs, I would have planned them out more deliberately than I did. Instead, what I was doing was something I ended up doing a lot of in Knights of the Old Republic, which was planting stubs of stories that I could, bring in later. I had hidden a possible traitor in the series, which is something I did actually do in Knights of the Old Republic. I had a way to bring Sonny Birch back to life because he dies off camera. And again, I had a super group or a super villain group or something like that, or a villain group that is just name dropped in one of the panels. And again, it was something where I could use it later if I ended up needing to. And it turned out that I didn't. But again, you never know with an ongoing series like that necessarily how long you're on it for. And the hope is that you're not leaving a bunch of story debris that will take more than a page to fix. And so we did get it. I think to end properly. And as for those hidden story stubs, who knows? Might be useful later on.
Would you ever be up for it if I think these days they do like 4 or 5 issue miniseries? Like if they give you a miniseries to say, okay, set it during this era, and you can either add to the end of your story or kind of fill in stuff.
Yeah. I did I have ideas to go forward with? Yeah, absolutely, I did. So they know where to find me.
And would you be influenced too if now that you've seen the Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man movie, you're like, oh, that's an idea. You know, they took ideas from you, you take ideas from them, like,
well, this is the thing. So Iron Man, people ask why I wanted to do that book. Part of it was I had the whole series by then, and that was the only series I had all of. The very first Iron Man issue that I read was Demon in a Bottle, which was a weird issue to start on.
Yeah.
But it was the last issue of that storyline. But I enjoyed the David Michelinie, Bob Layton stuff that followed. And then a cousin gave me his comics collection, which just happened to include a lot of the Tales to Suspense issues, Iron Man and Submariner 1, which is the bridging issue, and then 2 copies of Iron Man 1. And I'm like, all right, well, I've got the easy part or the hard part done now. It'll be easy to finish this series. It took me like another 20 years to get the rest of the issues. But no, when we come into the series, I had the whole thing. And so I was really interested in writing it. I will say that I did kind of feel that when I was doing the series, there are multiple mentions of his addiction struggles. Certainly when it's in front of Congress, but also at the time they had said, okay, his new heart can't metabolize alcohol, so he can't do anything anyway. And also I had kind of felt like that story had been done, better, twice by that point, because I think Denny O'Neil had done it as well, and I wanted to tackle a different character flaw of his, or a different weakness of his, which is that he was arrogant and thought he could make decisions for everybody else. And that's what they end up, that's really sort of the silver bullet that they use on him in Congress is, you think you know better than the police, you think you know better than everybody. And that's no one has ever said no to you. You don't know how to fail. You've never failed at anything. And this is what you're going to have to learn to deal with.
And that was the other thing I liked about when I was reading this. I'm like, okay, this guy knows his Iron Man history, because all of a sudden it's just like he pulls out Force. I'm like, Force.
Again, an interesting character. There was a whole lot of characters in the past, and I think I would have continued to mine that. I think I only really created one, supervillain, which is the Vitriol character. But there just wasn't. And also I think, Arsenal Alpha, which was a spinoff of the Avengers Annual with Arsenal, and again, but we brought back Titanium Man. We had all these different things. I think that it served its purpose for me in my career, and I hope it also served the purpose of entertaining everybody for a year.
Oh, it did. All right, so Marvel, come on, let's get this man more work.
It had to fit my schedule at the moment.
Oh, that's true.
But no, I mean, definitely, getting the books back out there, I'd love that.
Yes, reprints. Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. I think they're starting to catch up, because I know they're just like starting to reprint like JMD Mateus Amazing Spectacular Spider-Man issues from the 90s. It's like, really, you're taking this long?
Well, it's how many do they have to print? I mean, or how many do they have to catch up with? So and also they would skip around in the Epic collections.
Oh yeah.
And so I think last I looked, there might be 2 Epics left to go in the original series.
Gotta get that Teen Iron Man out there.
I think that one's out. I'm not sure though.
Oh jeez, before yours. Oh jeez.
Well, I think it wraps the series and gets
yeah, before Heroes Reborn. All right. So yes, you are a busy man. Thank you for your time. Tell everyone, what are you busy with? What are you working on right now? What's out right now?
Well, yeah, folks know that the most recent thing I've got out, I did the 2 Tim Burton, tie-in novels. Batman Resurrection, Batman Revolution is the most recent one out. Both of those books are doing gangbusters right now. Resurrection has gone back to another hardcover printing, which makes me very happy. For a book that's, at this point, 14, 15 months old. And so that's out. We also Marvel has just put out another omnibus of mine. That is the second Old Republic omnibus. That's my Lost Tribe of the Sith comics and my Knight Errant comics. And of course that joins the volume 1, which is the Knights of the Old Republic series. That's coming up on an anniversary here just this weekend as we're recording this. It'll be 20 years on Sunday, January 25th, that the first issue of that came out, and I'll be looking for a way to kind of celebrate that online. But yeah, and I am always working on new things. I cannot say what I'm working on right now, but I can say I am working.
I was gonna say that's I've talked to many writers. That seems to be the sign of success. If you have at least one thing, you're like, I can't talk about it. I'm like, okay, very good. All right. Yes. Thank you for your time. I know, yes, sure, you are a busy man, but yes, it's always a pleasure to speak to you.
Folks can find essays on all of the issues of Iron Man that I did, all of the issues of Crimson Dynamo, essays that I wrote at the time the books were out. On farawaypress.com, and that's kind of fun. They can find me on social media, JJM Faraway on Twitter, John Jackson Miller on Threads, Facebook, and Instagram, and farawaypress.com on Blue Sky.
All right, everyone. The great John Jackson Miller. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.